Deep in the mountains of southern Peru, far from the tourist crowds of Machu Picchu or Cusco's sacred temples, there lies a forgotten gateway. Carved into solid red sandstone, it stands over 20 feet high, a perfect rectangle with a smaller door-shaped alcove in its center. It is not an entrance. It leads nowhere, at least not in the physical sense. Locals call it Puerta de Hayu Marca, the Gate of the Gods. It is a place wrapped in myth and mystery, a silent monument that seems to defy explanation. For centuries, it has been a sacred site for the Aymara people, a doorway to the spirit world, where shamans once came to offer prayers to their ancestors and the stars. But others believe it's far more than that. Some say it's an ancient stargate, a literal portal connecting our world to other dimensions or even other planets. And in recent decades, a growing number of researchers have begun to wonder, could this mysterious stone doorway be one of the last surviving remnants of Atlantis, the fabled lost civilization said to possess advanced technologies and cosmic knowledge? The story begins not in myth, but in rediscovery. In 1996, a local mountaineer named José Luis Delgado Mamani stumbled upon the site while exploring the region near Lake Titicaca, one of the highest and most mysterious lakes in the world. Standing before the massive stone face, Delgado was struck by a strange familiarity. He claimed that he had seen this very doorway before, not in life, but in a dream. In his vision, the gate shimmered with blue light, and beyond it he saw a realm filled with radiant beings. The experience shook him so deeply that when he found the doorway in real life, he believed he had uncovered something otherworldly, a portal between worlds. But this wasn't the first time the region had been tied to stories of otherworldly power. For generations, local tribes told tales of a priest named Aramu Muru, said to have come from the ancient empire of Lemuria, or perhaps from Atlantis itself. According to legend, Aramu Muru carried with him a golden disk given to him by the gods of the sun. When his civilization faced destruction, he fled across the ocean and sought refuge in the Andes. There, guided by celestial beings, he discovered the great stone gate of Hayu Marca. Standing before it, Aramu Muru inserted the golden disc into a circular indentation at the center of the doorway, and in a burst of blue light, he vanished, never to be seen again. The legend claims that he passed into another realm, not death, but ascension. Some say he entered the lands of the gods, while others believe he walked through a dimensional portal, a bridge between earth and the heavens. Centuries later, the gate still exudes an aura of sacred mystery. Pilgrims and mystics from around the world travel to its site to meditate, to pray, and in rare cases to try to activate it. Visitors report strange phenomena, bright lights in the sky, energy vibrations, and even temporary visions of star-filled corridors stretching beyond the stone. Skeptics dismiss these experiences as products of suggestion, but believers see them as signs that Puerta de Hayu Marca is not merely an ancient carving, but a dormant stargate left behind by an advanced civilization long before recorded history. And that brings us to the greatest question of all. Who built this monument and why? Mainstream archaeology offers no clear answers. The gate doesn't fit comfortably into any known Inca or pre-Incan architectural style. There are no inscriptions, no carvings, no evidence of habitation. It stands completely isolated, as if deliberately placed for a purpose beyond human understanding. Yet its precision is undeniable. The stone face is polished smooth, almost as if it were laser cut. The small door at its center, about 6 feet tall, is symmetrically shaped, aligned perfectly with the natural lines of the rock. Researchers have noticed that the layout mirrors certain sacred patterns found across ancient sites around the world, from Egypt's temple gateways to the megalithic portals of Malta, and even the so-called Gate of the Sun at Tiwanaku, not far from Lake Titicaca. Could all these sites share a common origin? Could they be remnants of a global civilization that predated known history, perhaps even the legendary Atlantis? The myths of Peru and the legends of Atlantis both speak of gods descending from the sky, vast floods and lost technologies capable of bending time and space. Could the Puerta de Hayu Marca have been a point of connection, a literal bridge between these ancient worlds? In the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into the evidence, both mythological and geological, to explore whether the Gate of the Gods could be a surviving fragment of that lost empire. Because if the legends are true, then Puerta de Hayu Marca might not just be a monument to the past, it could be a key to the future.
The legend of Puerta de Hayu Marca does not exist in isolation. Scattered across Peru's vast highlands are countless clues, fragments of a forgotten world. Enormous megaliths, impossibly smooth stone walls, and temples carved from solid rock as if molded by a god's hand. Together, they whisper of an ancient architect, a civilization whose knowledge may have reached far beyond the limits of our imagination. And some believe that architect was Atlantis. The story of Atlantis was first recorded by the Greek philosopher Plato around 360 BCE. In his dialogues Timaeus and Critias, he described a powerful island civilization that existed beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the region we now call the Atlantic Ocean. Atlantis, he wrote, possessed technology and wisdom granted by divine beings. Its cities glimmered with orichalcum, its people could harness the power of the stars, and its empire stretched across the seas. Then, in a single day and night of misfortune, Atlantis vanished beneath the waves. To most historians, Plato's tale is pure allegory, a moral warning about human hubris. But what if it wasn't fiction at all? What if Atlantis truly existed, and its survivors carried their knowledge to the far corners of the world? Ancient legends from nearly every continent tell the same story: a great flood, a vanished homeland, and mysterious sky people who came afterward, bringing the seeds of civilization. In Mesopotamia, they were the Anunnaki. In Egypt, the Netjeru. In the Andes, the Vircochas, tall, pale-skinned, bearded gods said to have emerged from Lake Titicaca after a global cataclysm. According to Aymara myth, Viracocha, the creator god, rose from the depths of that very lake to bring light back to a darkened world. He taught humankind agriculture, architecture, and astronomy, and then disappeared westward, promising to return through a doorway of the sun. That doorway, some believe, could not be none other than Puerta de Hayu Marca. When we look at the construction techniques of ancient Peruvian sites, a pattern emerges, one that defies conventional timelines. At Sacsayhuaman, just above Cusco, walls of interlocking stones weigh up to 350 tons, fitted so perfectly that even a razor blade cannot slip between them. At Ollantaytambo, we find stone blocks with precision-drilled holes and mirror-like surfaces. And at Tiwanaku, not far from the Gate of the Gods, the megalithic Gate of the Sun displays carvings aligned with celestial patterns, an ancient calendar that predates the Inca by thousands of years. Yet mainstream archaeology attributes these wonders to pre-Columbian cultures using bronze tools and primitive techniques. But is that truly plausible? Geologist Dr. James Spottiswoode, among others, argues that the erosion and patina on many of these sites suggest they could be tens of thousands of years older than official estimates. And if that's true, these monuments might belong to an unknown civilization, one erased by cataclysm, remembered only through myth. And that brings us back to Atlantis. Plato described Atlantis as being technologically advanced, capable of manipulating the elements and channeling energy through crystalline structures. Some fringe researchers suggest that the Atlanteans possessed resonance technology, an understanding of frequency and vibration that allowed them to move massive stones or even open dimensional gates. Could the Puerta de Hayu Marca be an artifact of such knowledge, a relic of Atlantean engineering designed to harness planetary or cosmic energy? Incredibly, the region surrounding the gate lies along what's known as a ley line, one of several energetic paths believed to connect ancient power centers across the globe. These lines link sacred sites like the Great Pyramid of Giza, Stonehenge, and the Machu Picchu complex. Some theorists propose that these points act as nodes in a vast planetary energy grid, a sort of spiritual circuitry left behind by the ancients. If Atlantis truly spanned continents, perhaps its architects built such gates as conduits, channels through which human consciousness could interact with cosmic forces. The myths of Aramu Muru and the Golden Disk suddenly begin to make sense within this framework. The disk could have been a resonant key, a frequency activator that harmonized with the stone's geometry to open a portal not through space, but through dimension. Even the placement of the site seems deliberate. Lake Titicaca, the highest navigable lake on Earth, is steeped in electromagnetic anomalies. Compass readings fluctuate wildly. Unexplained lights dance above its surface. Some visitors have reported missing time experiences, hours that vanish without explanation. Ancient maps show that the region was once home to a vast inland sea, possibly connected to other oceans before tectonic upheavals sealed it off. Could that be the Andes themselves were once part of a now submerged continent? A fragment of Atlantis thrust upward after the flood. In 2002, an Italian underwater team exploring Lake Titicaca reported finding stone terraces, roads, and temple ruins beneath the surface, evidence of a civilization far older than the Inca. The discovery received little attention from mainstream academia, but to many alternative historians, it was confirmation. A lost world once thrived here. From the Sahara's eye of the desert to the Caribbean's sunken structures, traces of Atlantis appear in every corner of the globe, but nowhere do they resonate more strongly than in the Andean highlands, where myth, geology, and mystery intertwine. Perhaps the builders of Puerta de Hayu Marca were the final survivors of that lost age, seeking to preserve what remained of their sacred science. Perhaps this portal was not meant for escape, but for return. Because if Atlantis truly fell, and its knowledge was scattered across the earth, then the gate of the gods may stand as a beacon, a silent promise that one day the ancients will rise again. And if that's the case, then maybe the legends of gods descending from the stars weren't about extraterrestrial visitors at all. Maybe they were about us, the descendants of Atlantis, trying to find our way home. In the next chapter, we'll venture deeper into the cosmic dimension of the mystery. What if the ancients didn't just believe in other worlds, but traveled between them? And could the Puerta de Hayu Marca be one of Earth's last remaining stargates, built to bridge the gap between humanity and the gods?
For thousands of years, humankind has gazed at the stars and wondered if they were simply lights in the sky or windows into other worlds. In the high plains of Peru, where the air grows thin and time itself feels slower, ancient people may have discovered the answer. Because, according to legend, Puerta de Hayu Marca was no ordinary monument. It was a doorway to the heavens. Across ancient civilizations, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica, one symbol appears again and again: the gateway, a portal between the mortal realm and the divine. The Sumerians spoke of gates of Anu, pathways to the home of the gods. The Egyptians built massive pylons in their temples to represent the threshold between earth and the afterlife. And in the Andes, the Aymara believed that certain doorways carved in stone were puertas, sacred openings to other planes of existence. What makes Puerta de Hayu Marca extraordinary is how closely its geometry and placement align with these cosmic traditions. When viewed from above, the gate aligns almost perfectly with the Southern Cross constellation during key times of the year, especially around the winter solstice, when ancient Andean rituals of rebirth and sun worship took place. Researchers have noted that its orientation also mirrors the rising of Alpha Centauri, one of the brightest stars in the southern sky, and, intriguingly, a system often linked by modern ufologists to extraterrestrial visitations. Could it be coincidence? Or was the gate deliberately designed to resonate with cosmic energy, a cosmic synchronization between heaven and earth? To the shamans who still visit the site, there is no doubt. They speak of the huacas, energy points scattered throughout the landscape, each one a living being connected to the cosmos. When rituals are performed correctly, with chanting, vibration, and intention, these huacas open, allowing the traveler's spirit to pass into other realms. Sound and frequency play a critical role. When conch shells or ceremonial flutes are played before the gate, many report a strange acoustic effect, an echo that seems to come from within the stone itself, as if the rock is resonating. Modern acoustics experts who have tested similar sites, like the Temple of the Moon or the Chavin de Huantar complex, have found that certain frequencies can create altered states of consciousness, effectively transporting listeners into what feels like another dimension. So, what if Puerta de Hayu Marca isn't just symbolic, but functional? Could it be a device, an ancient technology that once harnessed sound, light, and energy to open a passage between worlds? The concept of stargates, portals capable of instant travel between distant places or dimensions, is not new. In modern physics, quantum theorists describe Einstein-Rosen bridges, better known as wormholes, theoretical tunnels that could link two distant points in space-time. But ancient myths may have described the same phenomenon in spiritual terms. Consider this: the Sanskrit word vimana refers to flying chariots used by the gods in Indian epics, capable of appearing and disappearing through beams of light. The Maya believed that their pyramids were portals through which their kings could ascend to the stars. And the Egyptian Book of the Dead speaks of doors in the sky that open to receive the soul of the pharaoh.
These are not isolated beliefs. They are fragments of a shared global memory. If we interpret Puerta de Hayu Marca as one of these portals, then it may not require a physical mechanism at all. It could operate through conscious resonance, the alignment of human intention with Earth's electromagnetic field and the vibration of the cosmos. In that sense, the golden disk of Aramu Muru might not have been a key in the material sense, but a symbolic or energetic amplifier. Many modern mystics claim that the gate responds to meditation, chanting, and heart-centered energy. Visitors describe sensations of tingling skin, pulsing light behind closed eyes, and a magnetic pull toward the stone. Some say they hear voices, ancient songs, calling from beyond the threshold. Skeptics dismiss these claims as suggestion, the power of myth shaping perception. But believers argue that these experiences mirror the same phenomena described in sacred traditions around the world, the thinning of the veil between worlds. And in some cases, witnesses claim the impossible. One visitor, a Bolivian mystic named Luis Fernando Mostajo Martens, reported that during a ceremony at the gate, he encountered glowing beings who communicated telepathically, revealing that the doorway was indeed a dimensional portal, one that connects Earth to a network of brotherhoods in the stars. He claimed that the site is part of an ancient system of 7 interdimensional gates scattered across the planet, each one attuned to different cosmic frequencies. These claims may sound fantastical, but they echo an emerging theme in both metaphysical research and theoretical physics: that consciousness and energy are not separate, but part of the same field. Could the ancients have understood how to manipulate that field, to open a bridge between the physical and spiritual realms? If so, Puerta de Hayu Marca may have served as a gateway of ascension, allowing select initiates like Aramu Muru to transcend human form and enter higher dimensions. For those who visit today, standing before the gate feels like standing at the edge of eternity. The wind seems to carry whispers, and the sandstone glows faintly at sunset, as if remembering an energy long dormant. To some, it's only rock, an empty doorway carved into the mountain. But to others, it's a promise, a reminder that perhaps the gods never left. They simply walked through the door and waited for humanity to follow.
For all the myths and metaphysical theories surrounding Puerta de Hayu Marca, one question still looms larger than the mountains themselves. What evidence exists that this so-called Gate of the Gods is anything more than legend? Because while the stories may ignite the imagination, it is the stone itself, its geometry, its context, its impossible precision that whispers the truth. The doorway sits in the remote Hayu Marca mountain region of southern Peru, not far from Lake Titicaca, an area already saturated with megalithic enigmas. Here in this silent landscape, you'll find no temples, no dwellings, no inscriptions, just an immense sandstone wall, perfectly smoothed and flattened, as though sculpted by a power that understood molecular structure itself. At first glance, archaeologists classified it as a natural rock formation with minor human modification, a kind of unfinished temple entrance abandoned by the Incas. But when geologists and engineers examined the site more closely, a different story began to emerge. The rock bears marks of thermal alteration, areas where the surface appears melted or vitrified. To some researchers, this suggests exposure to extreme heat, the kind that could only be achieved through advanced tools or energy sources unknown to pre-Columbian civilizations. Others note that the smooth precision of the door recess mirrors the megalithic techniques found in Tiwanaku, Pumapunku, and Ollantaytambo, sites that share not only similar craftsmanship, but also mysterious anomalies in their magnetic fields. Indeed, magnetic readings taken at Puerta de Hayu Marca have shown unusual fluctuations, especially near the small circular depression in the center of the doorway, where legend says Aramu Muru placed the golden disc. The readings are inconsistent, sometimes spiking, other times dropping to near zero. Could this be evidence of residual energy, a lingering electromagnetic imprint of something long forgotten? Or perhaps the stone itself was engineered to interact with geomagnetic currents running beneath the Earth's crust, a design intended to channel power from the planet itself. It sounds incredible, but similar patterns appear across the globe. At Stonehenge, compasses behave erratically near certain monoliths. At the Great Pyramid of Giza, electromagnetic scans have revealed localized energy anomalies. And at ancient temples in India and Mexico, ionization levels rise significantly during solar alignments. Could all of these ancient sites, scattered continents apart, be expressions of a single lost science, one that understood how to harness the planet's invisible energies? In 2014, a group of Peruvian researchers conducted ground-penetrating radar scans near the gate. What they discovered raised more questions than answers. Beneath the rock face lies a hollow chamber, roughly 12 meters wide, extending deep into the mountain. No known tunnel leads to it. No record describes its construction. Officially, the finding was dismissed as a natural void, but its symmetry defies geological explanation. Could it be an ancient chamber, a hidden sanctum sealed long ago? Legends say that when Aramu Muru vanished through the gate, the stone absorbed him, transforming solid matter into light. If true, perhaps the chamber behind the portal was his destination, or a dimensional interface between worlds. Even NASA once took an interest in this region. In the early 2000s, satellite imagery of southern Peru revealed massive geometric patterns etched into the landscape, some stretching for miles, invisible from the ground. These lines appear to connect megalithic sites in ways that resemble circuitry, not random placement, but intelligent design. Mainstream historians called them Inca roads or ritual pathways. But what if there's something entirely else? Remnants of a planetary grid designed to harness telluric energy, connecting sites like nodes in a global power network. For centuries, indigenous elders in the region have warned outsiders not to disturb the sleeping gods of Hayu Marca. They speak of a time when humanity once wielded great power, the ability to travel between realms, communicate with the stars, and command the forces of nature. But this power, they say, was lost when humanity turned to greed and war. The gods sealed their gates and withdrew, waiting for the world to be ready once more. It's a haunting echo of Plato's description of Atlantis, a civilization destroyed when spiritual wisdom was replaced by material ambition. And now, millennia later, we stand before the same threshold, both literally and metaphorically. Could it be that the ancients left behind these gates not as relics, but as tests, challenges to future humanity to rediscover the harmony between energy, matter, and consciousness. Even modern science is beginning to circle back to ideas once dismissed as mystical. Quantum physicists now speak of entanglement, particles connected across vast distances influencing one another instantaneously. Neuroscientists study how consciousness itself may interact with electromagnetic fields. And researchers exploring acoustic levitation have shown that sound frequencies can indeed move and shape matter. Perhaps the ancients knew all this, not through technology as we define it, but through a spiritual science that recognized the unity between vibration, geometry, and mind. If that's true, then Puerta de Hayu Marca may not be a broken relic at all. It may simply be asleep, waiting for the right frequency, the right moment, the right alignment, when human consciousness itself becomes the key to reopen it. And so the mystery deepens. Beneath the rock, hidden chambers lie. Around it, magnetic fields twist and shimmer. Above it, constellations align as if in silent memory of something once divine. The evidence, though fragmented, points to a single conclusion. The gate of the gods is not simply a doorway carved in stone. It is a message, an ancient invitation for humanity to remember who we once were. In our final chapter, we'll explore what this mystery means for us today, from modern encounters and spiritual awakenings to the enduring pull that draws travelers to this lonely mountain. Because perhaps in the silence of Hayu Marca, the past is not gone at all. It's waiting for us to knock. In the next chapter, we'll descend from the realm of myth into the evidence itself. Archaeological clues, ancient maps, and even modern experiments suggest that something extraordinary once happened here. And though the official record may deny it, the stones of Hayu Marca might still be keeping their secrets, buried in plain sight.
At sunrise, the sandstone of Puerta de Hayu Marca glows crimson, as if the mountain itself is alive. The doorway stands silent, yet somehow awake, a sentinel watching over the ages. And those who come here, whether drawn by faith, curiosity, or destiny, often leave changed. Because to stand before the gate of the gods is to stand before a mirror, not of stone, but of the soul. Over the past few decades, hundreds of travelers, shamans, and researchers have journeyed to this remote site, seeking answers. Some come hoping to glimpse another world, others to feel closer to the divine. And while few claim to have passed through the portal itself, nearly everyone reports an undeniable sense of presence, as if unseen eyes are watching, ancient and patient. A Peruvian mystic once described it this way: "When you touch the gate, it hums like a heartbeat. But it's not the mountain's pulse you feel, it's your own, reflected back at you from something eternal." In 2007, a group of meditation practitioners spent an entire night at the site during the solstice. They reported vivid visions, swirling lights, human-like figures made of energy, and a deep sense of being pulled beyond their bodies. Scientific equipment they brought, electromagnetic sensors and audio recorders, captured anomalies, spikes in field strength, bursts of static, and harmonic tones inaudible to the naked eye. To believers, it was proof that the gate of the gods was not dormant, only selective, opening not through physical force, but through resonance of mind and heart. To skeptics, it was coincidence. the brain interpreting random noise as meaning. But one truth is undeniable. Something happens at Hayu Marca, something that eludes easy explanation. And yet perhaps the greatest mystery is not the gate itself, but what it represents. For centuries, myths from every corner of the world have told us the same story, that there was once an age when gods and humans walked together, when spirit and matter were not divided, when knowledge of the stars flowed freely. The fall of Atlantis, the flood of Noah, the destruction of Lemuria, they all describe the same wound, the separation of humanity from its cosmic origins. Maybe Puerta de Hayu Marca was built as a reminder of that forgotten unity, a monument to what we once were, a promise that one day, when we remember, the gates will open again. It's no accident that such sites exist across the planet, from the Gate of the Sun at Tiwanaku, to the Lion's Gate in Egypt, to the mysterious rock-cut temples of India and Jordan. Each serves as a threshold between the earthly and the divine. And all share the same underlying geometry, proportions based on sacred numbers, pi, phi, and the golden ratio. It's as if the builders spoke a universal language, one written not in words, but in vibration. Modern science is only beginning to rediscover this truth. Quantum physics teaches that reality itself is energy, vibrating at different frequencies. Matter, thought, emotion, all part of the same field. And if consciousness can shape that field, then the idea of opening a gate no longer becomes fantasy. It becomes a question of harmony. Perhaps the ancients didn't travel through space as we imagine. They shifted vibration, tuning themselves to frequencies beyond human perception. In doing so, they entered worlds parallel to our own. Could this be the meaning behind Aramu Muru's disappearance? Not death, not escape, but transcendence. A return to the higher state of being that once defined humankind. And maybe that is the true secret of the Gate of the Gods, that the doorway isn't meant to transport us outward, but inward. When explorers press their hands to the cold surface of the stone, they are, in essence, facing themselves, the lost fragments of a civilization that forgot its origin in the stars. The gate becomes symbolic of the bridge between the human and the divine, between memory and awakening. Every generation rediscovers Hayu Marca in its own way. Archaeologists study it as an architectural anomaly. Mystics treat it as a sacred energy center. Filmmakers, writers, and dreamers see it as a story of destiny. And yet beneath all interpretations lies a single, unchanging truth: the human need to connect, to reach beyond the limits of flesh and time, to remember that we are more than what we appear to be. As one traveler wrote in his journal after visiting the site, "I didn't find a portal in the mountain. I found one inside myself. The gate is real, but it opens only from within." Whether Puerta de Hayu Marca is truly an Atlantean relic, a stargate, or a symbolic masterpiece, it stands as one of Earth's most profound enigmas. Its power lies not only in its mystery, but in what it awakens within those who dare to look. When the sunlight hits the gate at dusk, the shadows form a perfect frame, a dark doorway glowing with gold. For a brief moment, you can almost see movement, shapes dancing in the shimmer of heat and stone. It's easy to believe that if you stepped forward, you might not return the same. Because perhaps, just perhaps, this ancient portal was never meant to lead us elsewhere. Perhaps it was built to remind us that the real gate to the gods is the one inside, the one that opens when we remember who we truly are. The mountains of Peru keep their secrets, and Puerta de Hayu Marca still sleeps beneath their watchful gaze. But somewhere in that silence, an echo lingers, the voice of the ancients whispering, "When humanity remembers, the gate will open once more."